Bases dropped Friday, SDH AM. John here, you there. You know what this means is that since it is the end of the week and we're getting you ready for the weekend, going to be kind of busy, but we always have to start it off one way and one way in particular.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Friday.
That means one thing, that we get you ready for the weekend as best we can across the board. Here's the rundown coming up in a sec. Mike Gramajo from WESH-TV in Orlando, Oppo Research, getting you ready for not just this weekend with the Purple team, but Tuesday with the Purple team in Open Cup. We'll get you there in just a little bit after opening kickoff. Then we'll prep you for Major League Soccer for the weekend, all the juice boxes and the rundowns and all the people and where it's going to be and all of that. 10 o'clock, Voices of Apple TV, including 10:30, a Cangy cameo. Steve Cangialosi dropping by, Hudson River. Home game for him. It is going to be coming up. That's a Saturday showcase from our friends at the Walmarts. And so Cangy's going to join us really quickly at 10:30. 10:45, really cool thing. The CEO of the Field of Dreams, I don't want to get it right, Field of Dreams Academy, Terry Johnson's going to join us at 10:45. And he's going to break down some really cool stuff that happened with them recently involving a grant, bit of an education for us when it comes to the Field of Dreams Academy and what they're able to do. It isn't just a STEM school, it is a STEAM school. So we'll get into that, get into Field of Dreams Academy, get into the relationship that they now officially have with FIFA, and we'll roll from there. So, and then anything else that's happened, we do have some news overseas. Michael Carrick getting you ready for the weekend, all the things that are there, and we'll get you ready for all of that after the visit at 10:45. So without any further ado, really quickly before we get into the interview with Mike Gramajo, opening kickoff brought to us by Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com yesterday. Maddie and Jason, they were at Duluth for the 6A championships, two matchups, boys and girls, where you had two teams both ranked top 10, if not top 6 in the country. Started with the girls, West Forsyth down 1-0, come back to win 2-1. Big win for Jason Galt and that program. And then the boys matchup, Meadow Creek and Walton, and Meadow Creek top 10 in the country to be paired with Walton in the final. 80 didn't do it, 90 didn't do it, 100 didn't do it. They went to PKs, and it was Meadow Creek getting the championship in 6A on the boys' side as the nightcap at Duluth last night. And we'll have highlights of both of those matches at noon in red clay to get you ready for today, which is day last of the championships. It is going to be Justin Hanover and Nick Alifi. They're going to be at Duluth for the Quad A championships on both the boys and the girls' side. The nightcap's going to be Dalton and Midtown in Quad A. Caught up with Matt Cheeves yesterday. For Luke Winstall and myself, it's going to be Class A Division II, boys and girls. We start at 4, so it's 4 and 6:30 for us in Thomaston, 5 and 7:30 for Nick and Justin at Duluth. In our matchups, it is going to be Irwin County and Tryon in Class A D2 girls, Class A D2 boys, heavyweights, Atkinson County in the final game of the year for the third match in a row. And it is a GMC prep with our friend Dustin Jeanette. So it's going to be two great matchups for Luke Winstall and myself. You can catch it on NFHS Network. We'll have highlights of what happened yesterday on Red Clay Soccer Report presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. That's going to be at noon. Obviously, since all we have left are games, we'll preview what happens today. Highlights of what happened yesterday. It's going to be a short one. Trust me, because it's, highlights and stuff and then getting you out the door. So that's Red Clay at noon on the network. That's the time that we're talking about. Noon on the network. So that's where we are. All right. Before we get into all the other stuff, we got to do Oppo research. And this is where, first off, thanking our friends at Opening Kickoff. for Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Now, time to get into opposition research. And when anything is involving the purple team, it's always an opportunity for us to catch up with our friend Mike Gramajo and find out what's on his mind when it comes to Orlando, which is, quoting Winston Churchill, a riddle wrapped in an enigma. So we'll find out what's going on with the purple team as they come out of the midweek craziness that they had, come into the weekend, and then go into the midweek where you finish playing Philly, you play Atlanta, and then you play Atlanta. Here's our conversation with Mike Gramajo, WESH-TV in Orlando, about the purple team, opposition research, getting you ready for the weekend and the midweek. All right, Mike, my first question for you is, what in the wide world of sports happened Wednesday night?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and I think that was a question my sports director at the WESH-TV newsroom, Darren Stoltz, was kind of yelling across the newsroom when the game was happening. But it's really been the story of or the tale of the tape for the team. They defensively, they haven't been very solid. You can kind of just look at how the last few games have gone for them. Maybe you can go back to the Miami game. I mean, it was a great comeback win. I think MLS called it the greatest comeback in MLS history. But let's look at how the team was defensively. They conceded, was it 3 goals in that game to win 4-3. But then you look at what happened last week last weekend in Montreal. They made it to the 90th minute, came very close to getting their first shutout of the season. And then Montreal scores 2 goals, but it was a lack of just those defensive lapses that really hurt the team in that game. And then you look at this game against the Philadelphia Union, which think about it, they are the worst team in the league right now. To really go and score 3 against you. And Orlando was leading 2-0 at one point, mind you. So they were in a position where they could have just scored 1 more or at least manage the game and just liquidate the game and all. But, Philadelphia found its way to kind of crawl back into the game. Team was able to win at the end of the day, but still a very, very common defensive lapse that we've seen from this team. Offensively, yes, they've been somewhat consistent, but a win is a win. I guess you can kind of say that at least that's what the interim coach was able to take away from this. But definitely a lot more problems that need solving on that side of the field when it comes to how this Orlando team has been looking like this season.
I was going to ask, just to break it down for folks, Ojeda at 19 from the spot, Griffin Dorsey from the 27th. You mentioned that 2-0 lead. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, everything's cool. 2-0 at the break. We're kind of in control here. And then the game just goes, absolutely amusement park on you. Olaski scores in the 54th. Then you get McGuire scoring in the 72nd to get the lead back to 2. Then Kevin Sullivan, then Ben Bender, 2 goals in 4 minutes. And so I think that you're looking at it from a couple of different perspectives. You mentioned the defensive lapses, and I guess you can take it from the perspective of, okay, there was the defensive lapse in general, and then there was giving up 2 goals in 4 minutes to get you back to where you were at 3 before Ojeda scores in the 90th. So there are different stretches and different personalities to the defensive lapses, if you know what I mean.
That's a good point, because you look at when we look at these defensive lapses and how the short amount of time that these are occurring. It's the common theme that happened in Montreal. Montreal scores 2 goals in stoppage time. I believe that there was only 6 minutes of stoppage time in that game, and they're able to liquidate and win that game against Orlando. Granted, against this Philadelphia team, those 2 goals did not come at the worst time, because obviously no one wants to get concede in stoppage time. Now you're scrambling last minute, last second to try to get a result. Thankfully, that wasn't the case for Orlando, but it is an area of concern. I would think, because to have it in back-to-back games against Montreal last weekend, to concede twice in such a short amount of time, and then concede twice in 4 minutes against Philadelphia. Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit of the concentration when it comes to how do we approach and manage the game effectively. Because think about it, we're talking about some in paper some really bad teams right now. Montreal hasn't had a good season. Philadelphia, Supporter Shield winners last year, that is not having a good season. Orlando's not having a good season. But if Orlando City's looking to obviously turn the paper around once Antoine Griezmann gets here in the summer, you're going to have to figure out how to manage the game more properly. Because listen, Antoine Griezmann is not going to be your sole answer to really solving all your problems. You know, you're not gonna have 4 Antoine Griezmanns in the back line and see if you can solve these defensive lapses. There's gonna have to be a serious concentration when it comes to that, and maybe that can be the problem. But obviously, you're gonna have to hit on all cylinders. You know, the fact that the team didn't score on the road last weekend is an area not solely so much of concern. Obviously, defensive lapses was really hurting the team, but you know, we have yet to see a consistent Orlando City performance at all this season. And I mean, yeah, you can kind of blame, you know, the coaching change that happened early in the season. You can blame that the team is very young still in that regard. Injuries as well that also kind of affected the team. But with what now 3 games left in all competitions for Orlando before the World Cup break, I'm pretty sure that's going to be something that's going to be pointed at or addressed at some point during the summer, during that league pause, because obviously the most important thing for Orlando is once they come back from that World Cup break is, can they turn the page and can they really kind of just do a complete 180 considering how the first half of the season has gone for them.
Well, and what is the current vibe involving Martin Perelman? Yet we know he's a caretaker manager, but when you have the interactions that you have, whether it's with fellow media in Middle Florida, Central Florida, or with fans or anything like that, is there a level of patience? Is there understanding? Do they get context? Do they sit there and go, okay, we know we got a lot of stuff to work on. We know that Griezmann is on his way. Yeah. I'm hoping they don't think he's the answer, but what's the current vibe?
Yeah, I mean, fans are fans. Fans are always going to be fans. You know, you lose like the way you lose in Montreal. Fans are on social media or with the pitchforks and demanding, let's get a head coach, full-time head coach already. The vibe I get from the training grounds, it's really positive. I was there on Tuesday. We spoke with Duncan McGuire, and we one of, I don't know if it was me or someone else in the media landscape in Orlando, asked them, you know, everyone looks like they're upbeat despite, you know, not having the greatest season in such a long time. Obviously, the coaching change, the inconsistent performances, results that's come their way. And Duncan said, really, there hasn't been that much of a vibe change at all. I think you have to include a little bit of the context when it comes to Martin Perelman. Martin has been with the team now for 4 years or so. He's been with the organization, because mind you know, a little refresher for the viewers. He came in as the Orlando City B head coach 2 years ago, or 4 years ago. I stand corrected there. So he was managing the MLS Next Pro team. He did it for 2 years. And then after that, he was bumped up to the first team coaching staff, where he was Oscar Pareja's first team assistant coach since 2024. So he to kind of point out that maybe Martin doesn't have the locker room or Martin doesn't understand the players. I think that you can kind of discard that theory, because Martin knows this team. He knows these players. Now, does that justify him staying because the results haven't gone so consistent after Oscar Pareja left? You know, you have to kind of look at it like this. And Martin was asked about this as well. When the season started, we saw how the season started for Orlando. They lost their first 3 games of the season. And then as soon as Oscar left, well, even when Oscar was there, they got pummeled, 5-0 against NYCFC, 6-0 against LAFC, 5-0 against Nashville.
Can't have it.
Those are some really bad beatings. And Martin Perelman basically kind of gave a little analogy. We had to stop the bleeding, he said, because the results were not acceptable. So the first focus for him was to stop the bleeding. They basically had to restructure they had to restructure the starting 11. So to stop the bleeding, they had to do some movements around the back line. I think they finally found their ideal back line when it comes to their strong back line, because injuries also played a part, but not fully. But I mean, we can identify now the team's back line. It's Griffin Dorsey, Iago, Robin Janssen, who was basically out for the first 7 games of the regular season. And then you have the left back, which is still iffy. It's really Adrian Marin, the Spaniard left back. But there are times when David Brocolo, who's the team's other center back, plays that role, and he played that role mostly all of last season. He played it pretty well. So that's the back line, where we've kind of seen the inconsistency when it comes to the midfield. It's Brian Ojeda, Eduardo Tuesta, but it's just them, because when it comes to now looking at the depth there, they've been banged up with injuries too. Jeron Gerbet is still coming back from an ACL. Wilder Cartagena is technically back already, but Martin mentioned that it's going to be a really slow transition back into the lineup, because he suffered an Achilles injury, so they are trying to be very wary on how he gets back into action. So there's that. But now, I'm not trying to get lost in the whole shuffle. The team's now in a restructuring mode. What Martin also kind of alluded to earlier this week was he didn't have that much time to prepare how this team was going to kind of take on the rest of the season. So he did mention how the World Cup break is going to be a positive for him as far as having this team prepared. And what I got out of that is, I don't think they're going to hire a full-time head coach anytime soon. I could be wrong. Things could go completely wrong in the next 3 games for Orlando City, and that's enough for Ricardo Moeda to kind of say, you know what, Martin, we're going to go for a full-time head coach elsewhere. That's still a possibility. But there's the possibility is that Martin is probably going to hang out until the rest of the season, going to ride out how he does. And if at the end of this season, the team is not where it wants to be, then you can kind of explore that theory again. Is Martin going to be the right guy to right the ship in 2027 when you have already Antoine Griezmann here? Or do you go look for a coach that can take on and right the ship for 2027, which is going to be another beast in itself, because obviously it's a sprint season and then the transition calendar. So that's where we are with this team. And it's still a lot of question marks. It's still, why hasn't this team been firing? But there's been slow starts to this team before. 2023, 2024 were slow starts. They were able to turn it around. 2025 was the other way around. They had a really good start, and then the second half of the season, things just kind of spiraled all the way out of the way after that Inter Miami Leagues Cup semifinal exit. So it's really unpredictable. There's still a lot going on, a lot of questions. Griezmann's coming in July. You think there has to be some reinforcements as well in the roster, because there's certain players that I think that are not contributing to what they're expected of. So, but that's just really the story for Orlando City this season. It's been a long season, and it's not even half the season just yet. So
yeah, no, I'm right there with you, brother. There are some folks up here that are thinking the same thing. Our friend Mike Gramajo from WESH-TV in Orlando dropping his purple knowledge on us here. So that since you took a question away from me from my notes, let me ask you this one. You've got Atlanta coming in this weekend, and then Atlanta is not leaving. They're not like finishing up there at Inter & Co., coming back up here to practice or anything. They're staying because there's this thing called the Open Cup that's going to be within a week's time and just a couple days after Saturday. So then is your impression kind of like what a lot of folks are thinking involving Atlanta United, that you throw all your weight behind Open Cup, whatever happens on Saturday is Saturday? Is it first choice on Saturday, and then whoever can give me a pulse is going to be there for Open Cup because you're trying to get 3 points and work your way up the standings again, have a successful couple of days, have a successful week by the time you're done? What do you think it's going to be looking like here with Open Cup? Because you've played Philly, you've got Atlanta coming, then you're playing Atlanta in a different competition where if you win 3 games, you're in CONCACAF Champions League. Now it's Cup, sorry. So what do you think is going to be going on here?
Yeah, I think that's the gamble that the team is going to have to take, right? Because, you're at the point of the season now, the regular season, where you're going to have to start collecting points to go up the standings, or at least finish off in a good standing before the World Cup break. So you look at this Atlanta game, rivalry game, I think Orlando's now in a position where they have to get the 3 points. You're at home. You haven't been that great at home. I mean, you pulled out a really ugly win against Philadelphia midweek, but it was an ugly win. So can we see another ugly win on Saturday? Maybe, but you're in a position where you have to kind of crank out a win. You have to. I mean, it's at home. And as I just mentioned just a few seconds ago, the team hasn't been that great at home. But then you look at Open Cup. You're in a quarterfinal now. You win. You advance to the semifinal. You get really close to a CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. So it really, really depends on what Martin is going to have to do. He did rotate the squad somewhat this during the game on against Philadelphia on Wednesday. But there's going to be more rotation. I would not be surprised to see if Orlando plays I don't want to see a weak squad on Saturday, but starts off with a weak squad on Saturday, and then puts it in he subs in his stronger players at some point during the game on Saturday, because I think all the marbles are going to be in that Open Cup game. I mean, it's a cup tournament. You win and you advance. I think you're going to have to put yourself in that position, and I think it puts you in an immediate position to get closer to regional play, which is something Orlando hasn't competed in since last season, I believe. So I think the gamble will be towards that. It really depends, because it's also you're playing Atlanta back to back, so you also have to figure out what kind of cards Atlanta's going to play. Is Atlanta really going to come out with a strong squad on Saturday? If not, are they going to come out with a strong squad on Tuesday? And that's the unpredictable part. And Atlanta hasn't had a good start to the season as well, so it really depends on how things are approached and all that. But from the Orlando side, they are now in a position where they're obligated to get a result on Saturday, and they're obligated to get a result on Tuesday. History, however, tells you Orlando has yet to win back-to-back games this season. So is it going to happen for the first time? I don't know, but that's the unpredictable part right now where we're looking at.
All right, so starting 11, just for reference point. Maxime Crépeau in net. This was up against Philly. Back four, Brekalo, Robin Janssen. It was Iago and Griffin Dorsey. Midfield was Thiago, Atuesta, Ojeda, and Angulo. And then up top it was Martin Ojeda, not to be confused with Brian Ojeda. And then you also had Justin Ellis. So it was a 4-4-2-ish until the whistle blew. But that was your starting 11. You sat initially Cartagena, Taifi, Reed Brown, McGuire, who came in and scored, Spicer, Pasalic, Marin, and Luis Otavio. So that was what you were looking at going into last night. And so are you kind of visualizing, okay, it might be this, and we do the same kind of a thing? What are you visualizing in your head when it comes to Saturday?
I think Maxime's going to start on Saturday. That's just he's your de facto starting goalkeeper. And considering, as I mentioned, the team's in a position where they have to get 3 points, you're going to have to put somewhat of a strong lineup on Saturday. So, I mean, the way I envision it, Maxime your starting goalkeeper. I think Griffin Dorsey still gets the start on Saturday as your right back. Iago, I would not be surprised if David Brocolo's brought up in that game, and then you have Adrian Marin as your left back. So that's your back line right there. You look at midfield, you're gonna have to go with Luis Otavio and perhaps Brian Ojeda, and then you can even add Tyrese Spicer.
Your brain is trying to wrap your way around this.
It's tough because I'm trying to take into consideration that this team was banged up with injuries, so I don't really think. Look, the next player I was going to say was Marko Pasalic, the Croatian international, and he was out for the last 6 games of the season with a reported hamstring injury, and Martin said earlier this week that he's in communication with the Croatian national team because he's likely going to go to the World Cup. So he came in the last 10 minutes of the game against Philadelphia. I don't think he's going to go the 90 minutes. I'm pretty sure they're going to be very, very cautious on how they play Marko Pasalic. I mean, he's your other designated player, but they want him fit to be at the World Cup. So I don't think he's going to have – if he starts on Saturday, which I'm starting to think he will, I don't think he gets the full 90. I don't think he gets the full 90. So your wings, Tyrese Spicer, Marco Pasalic, and then I put Martino Hayes as your 10, and then Duncan McGuire as your 9. Duncan McGuire didn't start on Wednesday, but I think he gets to start. Even though I love Justin Ellis, the homegrown that was playing part right back, part midfielder, part 10, part 9 against, and he did a tremendous job. He's only 19 years old, I think, 18 or 19 years old, and he did a really good job. But I don't think Justin Ellis is going to get the start for that. I think he'll be in the bench, but that's the way I envision things on Saturday. And then will there be some rotation on Tuesday? I think there will. But Martin Perelman is going to be tasked with putting a strong lineup as well. There's going to be some rotation at some point in that Saturday game. The goal is probably going to be to score early and then manage, but it's an unpredictable sport, my friend. And who knows what the soccer gods are going to have on Saturday, because rivalry games are always great too, because it always adds that added umph, if anything.
I love your word manage. Then obviously on the flip side of Open Cup, sir, we would like to catch up with you and kind of take these two games and take a peek at them as we head into yet another weekend. As always, it's great to see you. I know that you have to navigate things with the patrolling guard dog. And thanks for dropping by as always. May everything go well with the police force that you have there at the Mike Gramajo Estates. And we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Great to see you.
Appreciate it, my man. Have a good one.
Mike Gramajo, WESH-TV in Orlando for Opposition Research, getting you ready for a crazy, Saturday, Sunday, it's 4 days. I think it's 4 days with Atlanta United and the Purple Team. And it's going to be really interesting because you have two separate competitions going on. You want to make an impression heading into that last match next weekend before you go into the World Cup break. You're also 3 wins away from an appearance in CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza status next year. So I think you're trying to work backward from Tuesday. And like I said, after Tuesday, after Open Cup, Mike will join us again and we'll discuss it again. But I think you're working backward here. And if you are Atlanta, you're going to go with guys who are, as healthy and ready to go as you can. You're going to navigate your minutes, obviously, get you ready for Tuesday. Because, like I said, 3 wins away from hemispheric competition. So I think you're working backward here. So that's Mike Gramajo from our friends at WESH-TV down in Orlando. And Mike and his new Chihuahua mix puppy, they had to go visit the evil doctor this morning. And so that's why we had to catch up with Mike when we caught up with him. So that's your early rundown of Oppo Research. Let's take the tour of everything else that's going on in and around Major League Soccer. And I apologize ahead of time. I'm trying to activate the chat. And it says, and I don't know why it would turn itself off. But apparently to activate the chat, you've got to do things. And I'm like, I already did. So who knows? So anything is possible when it comes to this stuff. Let me click a button and hope I don't screw everything up here. No, I don't think I did. Okay, I didn't screw everything up. But yeah, it's I apologize. So if you're trying to chat, head into the Twitch pitch so I can see what's going on until I ask Jason what one button am I supposed to push to get the chat back up and running on my screen. So I can see it in return. I just can't see it in studio. And so it's just weird. It says enable channels. Well, they've been enabled. Who knows? All right. Let's take the tour and let you know what else is going on Major League Soccer for the weekend. Voices from Apple TV joining us at 10. Cangy, Steve Cangialosi joining us for a Cangy cameo at 10:30. And then Terry Johnson, the CEO of the Field of Dreams Academy, is going to be joining us at 10:45 before we put a bow on the week. Get you ready for Red Clay, which is high school, and that'll be at noon. Obviously, it won't be the full hour because it's just going to be highlights and getting you ready for today. But it'll be a good rundown of everything that's happened so far. We'll get you ready for the last day of competition in the GHSA. And Maddie and Jason had 2 classics last night at Duluth. Luke Wentzell and I had 2 fantastic contests in Thomaston, where Thomasville went to Thomaston and got the daily double. First time ever championship for the girls team. First championship in 7 years, I think, for the boys. So good stuff there. And I'll show this again at noon. But thanks to the Booster Club in Thomasville for getting the stacks all dialed up and everything. And so we got this from them, from our friends at Thomasville. And we also have one of these I think is going to go to Jason because one fits him better than it does me. And so if I could get everything. So that's the Bulldog soccer right there. I saw Coach Peterson wearing that, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And the cheers and salutations to the Booster Club, by the way, down there, because they do not mess around. And it's really cool to see what we're seeing from a lot of these towns that are associated with the championships that are outside the big cities. And this is going to go in the stacks too, obviously. So the Thomasville Bulldogs scarf. So very, very cool stuff from our friends in Thomasville. Thanks to the Booster Club, Coach Kimmel and Coach Peterson for that. Now, all right, taking the tour of Major League Soccer. Here we go. Juice boxes will start there, and then we will go into the lineups for the refs and what to anticipate when it comes to whistles and maybe not whistles. So we'll go there and we'll see what it's going to be staring at. And so always add 10 minutes to start times, and that's what we're going to do as we lay it all out for you here coming up on the weekend. And it's going to start. You would think that it would start with a home game for a matinee involving Toronto FC at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And, if things would load, I could actually tell you that they're going to start at a certain time. But who knows? Anything is possible here. So after what happened in the midweek, actually, your first start is going to be at Stade Saputo. Jess has been just absolutely, I mean, they just might just call it the Jess Charman Memorial Suite for everything that they are doing in it's like Jess and Ian Joy are living at Stade Saputo. They need to just give them like nice suite and stuff there and to make sure that they are up and running every single time out. But every single match, I always look and see what's going on in Montreal. It seems like it's Jess and Ian Joy. I think Jess is probably going to be learning Montreal like the back of her hand by the time we're staring at stuff. But hey, look, you go to Montreal, there's worse things. There's worse things to do when it comes to where you can go on a weekend. So I just said it's never ordinary. I don't care, really don't care, and I don't want to sign up there either. So this isn't helping. Nothing like things not loading the way that they're supposed to on a weekend. So let me see if I change my device, if I get things better here, or if it is just our parent, the website that I want to look into is just sitting there and saying, not today. I want to go all countries. You're not helping. You're really not helping here. It's like, here's what I want to do. Nothing should be a surprise. I've gone here every single week and staring at all this. All right. So, and of course it dials up immediately. Of course it does. All right. So here we go. 4:40 kick. It is CF Montreal hosting Chicago Fire. CF Montreal is a dog at a plus 188 and draws a plus 275. Chicago Fire is a plus 137. 7:40 starts, and there are 6 of them. Purple team in Atlanta United. Atlanta United is a dog at a plus 220. Draw is a plus 290. And the purple team is a plus 110. 7:40 Charlotte hosting Toronto at a minus 125. Toronto finally hitting the road at a plus 320. Draw is a plus 290. One of the more intriguing matchups for a bunch of different reasons. We'll catch up with our buddy Chris Doran next week, probably next Thursday, because we have an alleged plan heading our way on next Friday's show, considering it is the last match day before World Cup break. So do not be surprised if what we traditionally do in big ticket items happens a week from today. Philadelphia is a home favorite to Crew at a plus 129 as the worst team in the Eastern Conference. Columbus is a plus 190. Draw is a plus 250. 7:40 DC hosting St. Louis City SC at a plus 140. Draws a plus 250. Like I said, I just think that there are times when these juice boxers, they just kind of sit there and go, number, spaghetti on the wall. Hey, that looks great. And then they just sit there and use that for all of them. DC is the draw is a plus 250. St. Louis City is a plus 179. Also at 740 in Foxborough, the Revs at a plus 114, hosting Minnesota United at a plus 220. Draw is a plus 260. Baby Bulls hosting NYC in Harrison, slight underdog at a plus 160. NYC is a plus 154, and your draw is a plus 270. So I believe that if it is true that Cangy and Danny get Hudson River for a Hudson River home game, this one's going to be tight. 840 Austin after coming off of the 5-0 thumping that they got to San Diego FC. Host Sporting, who, of course, brought out the stick and took it to LAG last time out. They just took the switch to them. So it is two teams in interesting directions, and Austin FC is a minus 200. Sporting is a plus 500 on the road. Your draw is a plus 380. Also at 840 at Hell in a Shell, it is Houston hosting Vancouver at a plus 260. Vancouver is a favorite on the road at a minus 111, and your draw is a plus 280. At 925, Seattle and LAG. Seattle favored. This one's got to be on one of the big FOXs. Minus 152. Draws a plus 320. LAG is a plus 400. I believe Jarrett Smith will be at Rio Tinto for this one with RSL hosting Colorado. RSL is a minus 159. And there is word swirling around about Xavier Gozo and his future and a big decision for RSL. Draws a plus 340, and Colorado is a plus 350 heading into the Riot. 940 San Diego hosting FC Cincinnati, even money plus 100. Draws a plus 320. FC Cincinnati is a plus 229. Then the late game, 1040, San Jose hosting FCD. San Jose is a minus 120. San Jose minus 120. Draw and FCD are a plus 309. Sure. Sunday at 610, Messi and Friends hosting Portland. Portland, by the way, is a plus 700 on the board. Draw is a plus 500. Messi and Friends are a minus 286. Then the late game, Nashville and LAFC. Nashville at Geodis at 810 is plus 104. The draw is a plus 260, and LAFC is a plus 240. So that's your rundown of all of your juice boxes involving the weekend. Now, as our follow-up, we let you know who is where for match day 14 here in Major League Soccer. CF Montreal, Chicago Fire. Fotis Bazakis is the man in the middle. Restraining comment. Eric Weisbrod, Ben Pilgrim, your ARs. Matthew Soare is your fourth. Jeff Gamble and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Charlotte and Toronto FC. Alan Chapman is the man in the middle. Megan Mullen, Kevin Locke, your ARs. Sergi Boyko is your fourth. Lucas Zapalo and Christian Clerc are upstairs. DC and St. Louis City SC. Rodrigo Albuquerque is the man in the middle. Nick Uranga, Corey Richardson, your ARs. Pierre-Luc Lazier is your fourth. Kevin Stott and Jeff Mushik are upstairs. Revs in Minnesota. Rosendo Mendoza is the man in the middle. Felicia Mariscal and Andrew Bigelow are your ARs. Amin Hadzic is your fourth. Daniel Radford, Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Red Bull and NYC. Hudson River. Victor Rivas is in the middle. Ian McKay, Matthew Nelson, your ARs. Lorenzo Hernandez is your fourth. Philip Dujic and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Purple team in Atlanta United. Tori Penso, Brooke Mayo, Catherine Nesbitt, your ref and your ARs. John Freeman is your fourth, no relation. Edvin Jurasevich and Robert Schaap are upstairs. Philadelphia and Columbus. Armando Villarreal is the man in the middle. Ryan Graves, Diego Blas, your ARs. Ricardo Montero Araya is your fourth. Michael Radchuk, Tom Felice are upstairs. Austin and Sporting. Marcus de Oliveira is in the middle at Q2. Justin Howard, Rhett Hamill, your ARs. Edson Carvajal is your fourth. Jeff Gamble and Jose de Silva are upstairs. Houston hosting Vancouver. Ismail Elfath, the man in the middle. And believe that Ismail Elfath was in Rio Tinto in midweek, and he was not gaining any friends. Corey Parker and Kyle Atkins, your ARs. Elahio Adegin is your fourth. Sean Tahini and Claudio Badea are upstairs. Joe Dickerson in the middle For Seattle and LAG, hang on to your hats at Lumen. Cameron Blanchard, Logan Brown, your ARs. Alyssa Pennington is your fourth. Eunice Maracci and Kevin Huey are upstairs. RSL and Colorado, Malik Badawi is the man in the middle. Gerard Kader-Lebuy and Callie Smith are your ARs. Elton Garcia is your fourth. Kevin Terry Jr. and Tom Supple are upstairs. At the Murph Dragons, San Diego and FC Cincinnati, Timothy Ford is the man in the middle. Jeremy Kizo, Eduardo Jeff, your ARs. Ricardo Fierro is your fourth. Remy Tucson, Joshua Patlak are upstairs. And San Jose and FCD, Chris Penso is the man in the middle. Jeffrey Gleason is your AR. Nick Balser is AR number 2. Alexis De Silva, Kevin Stott, and Tom Felice are upstairs. And so that is the rundown as we have it for match day 14, which is strange considering that we're missing a couple here. Yeah, we're missing the matches on the 17th. It does not appear unless it's registered as match day 15, which is strange, that we don't have the assignments from SE and Friends, Portland Timbers, Nashville, and LAFC on the Pro website yet. I'm intrigued. Okay. So Pro apparently hasn't made public their match day assignments for Sunday in Major League Soccer. So when we know them, we'll let you know about them. All right. So let's get into the research attached to who is going to be in and the purple team. And so that means that we are going to take a peek at what is wait a second here. Officials assignments, MLS assignments. Yeah, match day 14. Let me go and see if they've added to it. No, they've not. That's strange. They've absolutely not added to it. All right, so then let's check out Tori Penso as a center ref and see what Tori Penso has been navigating this season when it comes to being in the middle. And always, you go to who scored. You know, God bless them for their numbers and their analysis. But when you go and you want ref stats, they always start you in 2023. I don't know why that is, but anyway, we digress. All right, so Tori Penso, when it comes to fouls per match, is lower half. That's the first part of the equation. So lower half. Tori Penso is next to last. Tori Penso is next to last in fouls called per match at an even 20. 30th out of 31. Alan Chapman, as we all know, is last and by a far margin. Alan Chapman, by the way, 10 matches called this season in the middle. Fouls average 16.3. Tori Penso, next to last, 30 of 31, calling an average of 20 fouls a match. So then fouls per tackle would make sense that she is toward the bottom at 0.71, and she is 24th out of 31. And if you take out Nabil Ben Salah and Michael Vene, who have only navigated 3 matches total, then you have Tori Penso basically 24th out of 29. Fouls per tackle at 0.71. She has not called a penalty this year. No penalties called for Tori Penso this season. Yellows per match at 4 1/3 puts her above the league average, and it puts her 12th in the field of 31. If you knock out Remy Tucson, who's only called 2 matches so far this year, and Remy Tucson had 6.5. He had 13 yellows in 2 matches. So anyone longer than a match or 2, Tori Penso is 11th out of 30 in regularly scheduled center refs. So the rundown on Tori Penso and her history is this. Doesn't call a lot of fouls. Next to last, ahead of Alan Chapman. Fouls per tackle, middle of the pack. And so you look at Tori Penso, and she's kind of just in that range. No penalties called this year. So those are the things to kind of keep an eye on for Tori Penso. Not a lot of fouls. Yellows per match, 4 1/3, put her 11th out of 30. If you take out those that really don't do a whole lot of match calling so far this season. So 11th out of 30, top third in yellows. No penalties called. Doesn't call a lot of fouls. So that is the cursory statistical breakdown of Tori Penso and what to expect possibly from her coming up on this Saturday in Major League Soccer with Atlanta and the purple team. Okay, so we're going to see what kind of trouble we can get into here and find out what it's looking like. That's interesting. In the world of it just means moth. Apparently, Lowe's is going to sell a 10-foot Lionel Messi inflatable. So if you're really wanting inflatable Messi, here's your chance to get one. Looks more like the lead actor in This Is Us than it does Lionel Messi, Milo Ventimiglia. It looks more like Milo Ventimiglia than it does Messi, but nevertheless, Lowe's is going to sell a 10-foot Lionel Messi inflatable yard decoration as a part of their admiration of the world competition coming up in just a little bit. So, yikes. Okay, sure, fine. All right, let's go around the news and let you know what else is going on around the planet, get you set up, and then we'll have our friends from Apple start their reactions to the weekend. So exciting news once again, Field of Dreams Academy. We're going to talk about one of their really cool things that they have that's attached to the FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund. Once again, that's coming up with Terry Johnson, their CEO, coming up in a little less than an hour here on the program. Now, Ben Jacobs has been a very, very busy man this morning. How busy has he been? Well, I'll tell you. I mean, it has been a lot of stuff going on with Ben to help us out with what's going on overseas. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has now approved the appointment of Michael Carrick beyond this season. Formal talks on going over a 2+1, according to Lori Whitwell for The Athletic, and also from Sully. So Lori Whitwell from The Athletic, hope is that a deal could be confirmed by the end of the season. Still, there are points to clarify, but it looks like Michael Carrick is going to get at least a 2, and it might be a 2+1. Broad terms are now in place between Anthony Gordon and Bayern Munich. There still is a gulf in valuation between the two clubs. Eddie Howe admitted that he thought that Anthony Gordon was going to be a short-timer. So you've got broad terms in place on a 5-year deal involving Anthony Gordon and Bayern. Eddie Howe confirming likely to leave this summer, quoting him in his Friday presser, quote, Anthony's just come back from injury. The team's played well in his absence, and he's not been selected. With a partial view to the future, you've always got an eye on the future. The team and everything else evolves so quickly. We're going into a transfer window with a lot of unknowns for us, and there'll be a feeling of change this summer, end quote. Rangers look like they're going to be in the process of picking up Akpe Victory from Zaliger Zegi, 19-year-old Nigerian center back tracked by clubs in Germany, Spain, and France, 15 appearances with 1 goal. Benfica are the other club to have made an approach. Rangers understood to be close to making an offer. Fee is expected to be in excess of €5 million. Brentford confirmed the signing of 19-year-old center back Yannick Schuster, who's joined from Salzburg in a deal with €20 million. Contract is till 2031 with a 1-year option. So once again, you budget that out over 4 years. So that's $5 million a year against your basic PSR numbers. Keith Andrews said he's a player with a lot of potential. See it as something that they can develop. Fabrizio Romano was first in the door on that one. Looks like Kyndra D. St.Aubin is going to be joining us at 10 o'clock. So a little after 10, and then it'll be Cangy, and then it will be so Kyndra and Cangy. Looks like it's going to be that way. So so for 15 minutes at 10 o'clock. All right, cool. It'll be good to see Kyndra, so we're going to hold her for 15 minutes, and so Kendra's going to be here in 5. So that's the that's the official part of all the things. So Kendra's going to be joining us in a handful of minutes because Kendra's flying around, and she is going to be hopping on with us to talk about the things, including Houston and Vancouver. So it's going to be Neil and Kyndra, Houston and Vancouver, and we will be discussing Hell in a Shell and Vancouver Whitecaps with her coming up here in about 5 minutes. Everton confirming Seamus Coleman leaving the club at the end of the season after 17-plus years. He's going to take the summer to decide his next move, options of taking up a coaching role at Everton or continuing his playing career with another club. Bournemouth confirming Marcus Senesi is going to leave as a free agent. That's a big financial loss for Bournemouth. Club have known about the departure since last year. Both parties agreed on no January exit. Spurs already have an agreement with Senesi if they stay up. Manchester United showed interest. Liverpool yet to decide whether to make a move. Could be contingent on whether or not Konate remains. So big move for Senesi. Financial loss for Bournemouth not being able to get anything in return. Middlesbrough is not going to be able to partake in the hearing. The Independent Disciplinary Commission into Spygate, once again, on or before Tuesday, May 19th. So between now and 4 days from now, they're going to have the hearing. EFL and Southampton are involved. Middlesbrough is not allowed to be a part of that reindeer game. So we'll find out what happens with the hearing, and we'll find out what is up there. Midtjylland winger Dario Osorio on the radar of Everton, Bournemouth, and Crystal Palace. Midtjylland is open to a sale, €20 million plus price tag. Kaoru Mitoma has been left out of Japan's 2026 World Cup squad due to the hamstring injury he got against Wolves. If you haven't seen how the French national team released their squad, Le Brunch, it's out there on socials. I would go recommend watching it. So very, very cool stuff there. Bruno Fernandes told Joel Bea he wished Declan Rice had joined Manchester United. Full interview with him and via the official Football Writers Association when he was voted Men's Player of the Year is up and running after he got the trophy. Katie McCabe for Arsenal is going to be leaving the club at the end of the season. 30-year-old, 11 years at Arsenal, 305 appearances. Manchester City currently exploring a deal to sign McCabe. So it might be both Beth Mead and Katie McCabe heading over to Manchester City on the women's side. So very, very interesting stuff there. And we'll find out that. Yesterday it was announced Sam Kerr's leaving Chelsea when her contract expires. And it's going to be the fourth highest appearance maker and with 115 appearances for the club. So there was talk a couple months ago involving Sam Kerr and Denver. So we'll see if Denver is going to follow up and check and see if Sam Kerr makes her way over to be paired with Lindsay Heaps. Like I said, that was the initial talk. That was broken by news stations in Australia a couple months ago. Sam Kerr went on Instagram and basically shushed it. But now Sam Kerr will be leaving Chelsea at the end of her contract. Does the Denver talk resurface? We'll find out. So Sam Kerr no longer going to be at Chelsea after this season. Denver ascent, question mark. We'll keep an eye on that. And so we'll find out where that's going to be drifting when it comes to Sam Kerr as well. So there's a lot of the news and notes and things that are happening. Palace's latest when it comes to their head coach after replacing Oliver Glasner looks like it's going to be down to 3 people, according to the gossip that is out there. Lens is Pierre Sage, Kieran McKenna, Frank Lampard on the long list, and Doni Iraola is a part of it. They expect Iraola to join a bigger club. So Iraola, 1, Pierre Sage from Lens, 2, Kieran McKenna, Frank Lampard, they're on the long list, but you never know. Jean-Philippe Mateta is included in France's World Cup squad, and we'll pick up our international news on the flip side. So one of the busiest people on the planet hanging out with us, it's Kyndra. It's a Kyndra cameo. So where are you, young lady?
Well, today I just pulled into the gym parking lot. I just got done with a walk with the dog around the lake, and then I'm headed to, coach's calls, and I'm off to Houston tonight.
Okay, so we will not waste a whole lot of your time for your visit to Hell in a Shell. And Houston, you don't know what version of Houston you're going to get. And here we go with the freezing. And this is going to be – all right, so you're good. I can hear you. That's all I'll take. If it's to get you in, well, I'll take the hearing, and I won't worry about the video. It's all good.
Hold on. You sound like a chipmunk.
Of course I do.
Wait. Hold on.
All right.
Let me try my earbuds.
Okay. I probably still sound like a chipmunk in your ears. but I will take
Hold
sounding
on.
like a chipmunk.
This
If,
could be this could be your
Oh, I know. My best
Oh,
interview with you yet sounding like Alvin.
You still I can't you sound funny in my ear.
I'll take sounding funny over losing your signal. How about that?
I literally can't even understand what you're saying. It's so weird. Hold on.
All right, well then tell you what. Dump out. Okay, I'm holding on.
I'm going to do this.
Kyndra's going from like 19 different things to come and hang out with us for a Kyndra cameo before Houston and Vancouver with her and Neil Sika this weekend. So let's try version number 2, and let's see if here we go. Hang on, and there's version number 2. So do I?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yay! All right, Houston and Vancouver. Give me a preview.
Are you still there?
I am. Give me a preview.
All right. Yeah, I decided I was like, oh, maybe if I get out of my car. But I was honestly, when you redialed me, it was like perfect. So let's rock it. It's a beautiful day. It's a great day to talk some soccer.
Houston and Vancouver, hit me. What's on your mind?
Whew. Well, first of all, I can't figure out which Houston team this is. I think that's been my biggest challenge so far. Vancouver, pretty consistent. We understand what they're throwing at us. Rotation of squad, and Berhalter has a point to prove heading into World Cup summer, so that's been fun to watch. And then no matter how many competitions they have to play in and what kind of schedule they're looking at, they still seem to find a way to get it done. But it's going to be a tough task, short week. Head down to Houston, and I think they were just on the road in Salt Lake. Correct me if I'm wrong. So just a lot of crazy activity going on with everybody trying to wind down before this World Cup break. Houston with Ben Olsen, he rotated the squad a little bit. I think Yerme is phenomenal. Jack McGlynn is back healthy. So I think they're on the upward trajectory if they can get it all together. I know that the performance they just had didn't look great, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to be, better off after the World Cup break and kind of gelling at the right time. I don't know what your take is on it from what you've seen. I know you watch a lot of soccer, so you're asking my opinion, but I know you know what you're talking about.
No, that's your secret. I'm not supposed to know what I'm talking about. I'm just a lame morning show. Yerme, I thought, was a great pickup. He's one of the guys that's kind of literally flying below the radar when it comes to pickups this season. I still think trying to figure out what to do with Madi Bogusz, that to me is the wild card in all of this. It's like Yerme's getting more noise, Jack McGlynn's getting more noise, but Madi Bogusz was the guy they spent the boatload of money on, and comparison, it's like, where is Bogusz in this equation?
I think he's in a tough spot because he's such a good player. But I also think that he's trying a little too hard. He's pushing a little bit much. He's trying to perform. There's an expectation there. Maybe playing a little bit, him a little bit out of position because he is so flexible. As we all know, like, it's a blessing and a curse when you can play anywhere and be good at it, because then you get shuffled around when there's somebody else that needs to be in a different spot. So I think Bogusz was so good, and he is so good, but because he can play in multiple positions, it's like, hey, well, you're not going to put up a fuss. You're good on the right-hand side. You can play central. You can play on the left. So we're going to put the other guy that we know will put up a fuss over here, and he suffers a little bit. And because of the price tag, he's trying to do too much when he gets the ball, and just understanding and trusting his teammates. That'd be my biggest thing, but I think it's just got to start rolling for him at some point. This has got to be the thing where he figures it out and just understands to trust his teammates and find success. But when the team is not having success or is super inconsistent, it's hard to sometimes trust that process,
Then you look at Vancouver, and with all of the noise going on around the Whitecaps of relocation and all of that talk and just all of this external noise, they have been locked in to do what they've been doing this season. I give them like 88 gold stars. If I was an elementary school teacher, I give them all 88 gold stars for what they've been handling, and handling it well with multiple competitions, still being at the top of the West. This is nuts what they've had to go through this season.
I think when you play for this Vancouver Whitecaps team, and I know this is a newer thing for them with the relocation and the ownership conversation, but
it's sort of like they've just been plugging away. And the last 2 seasons now, even, sort of flying under the radar, doing it. And that's just talking about things that are out of their control. Even the things like the Ryan Gauld injury, Ryan White bursting onto the scene and being so phenomenal, regardless of who the coach is, just putting people in positions and players in positions that maybe nobody's else heard of, but they've just come in and crushed it. So I think for Vancouver, the fact that they've been able to drown out that noise and keep plugging away, regardless of the amount of competitions and everything that else is going on, technically off the field, but has to do with their team. I don't know how they continue to do it, even when they've been missing key players for long stretches of time. And you can only think that there's this culture, this leadership, this quality within the players and the coaching staff that have just got them plugging, humming in a way that I don't know that any of us thought was possible. Or maybe you thought, oh, well, this is going to drop off at some point, and it hasn't done that. So I give the club, the staff, the players a huge amount of credit to just keep doing what they're doing. And, I talk to my daughter a lot about the Vancouver Whitecaps whenever we watch them, and she can name just about everybody on that roster, which is always fun too, because a lot of the names are not the names you talk about all the time, and the unsung heroes in the midfield. Berhalter kind of gets the attention, but at the same time, you got Kuvas and others that just, if you didn't have them in there, where would this team be? Or Tristan Blackman when he stepped into that center back role and had been quality. And I don't know, there's a lot of good things about this Vancouver team, and I think it's going to be a really tough task for Houston. I know they're at home, and I know this is getting close to the World Cup break, which hopefully, teams aren't already thinking about what they're doing in the break if they're not going to be playing. And so I think that this is an opportunity for Vancouver to fly into this break and on a high note. But I don't know about Houston. I cannot figure out what team is going to show up. Is it going to be the team that lost 6-2? The game I did in Colorado? Is it going to be the team that battles back and finds a way? Is it, I don't know. I'm not sure which Houston team is going to be the one that shows up.
So if we were to have a conversation with your daughter, if we brought your daughter in on a Friday, and we asked her about the goalkeeping value of Yoi Takaoka, she could break it all down, huh?
She would absolutely break that down. She would at least break down his skill set. Because she was actually up in the booth with me on Wednesday, and we had Blake Price was the play-by-play with me that day because Neil was away at a wedding. And so she just starts talking to Blake all about Vancouver. She's like, oh, yeah, they have Takaoka, the goalkeeper, and Kubas is in the midfield. And, so, yeah, she is she's got a keen eye for, for the soccer, and she definitely watches enough of it. And, I try to talk to her on a Sunday morning or before I hit the plane, and she's already watching all the recaps. So,
wow. So you've got your own producer, basically.
Basically, but you know how that can go with the 12-year-old. They get a little bossy, so I gotta limit the feedback sometimes.
Make sure that she doesn't hit the talkback button, and while you're trying to get something done with Blake and Neil. Did Neil save you a piece of the cake from the wedding?
I hope so. He knows how much I love dessert, so I don't ever miss a dessert. I don't miss an ice cream. I don't miss a cake. I'm all for the dessert. So hopefully he's bringing something to Houston with him.
Yeah, we got to talk to the man to make sure that he has his priorities all set, and that is bringing dessert for Kyndra. This is how this.
I agree. This is how you make me happy.
See,
dessert.
It is all about Kyndra. This is how this works. Kyndra cameo here as she gets ready for Houston and Vancouver, and you look at what Vancouver did in the midweek going to Dallas, and they go to Frisco, and they're down 2-1, and then it's just like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. And Berhalter with a brace, and by the time they're done, Rahide is given an own goal, and so it's 3-2. It almost seems like there's an inevitability at times with Vancouver where, like, if they're down or they're down late, you know that there's going to be an equalizer coming. It's almost like you hear the Jaws music and the shark, the shark is in the water. That's kind of the vibe that I get with Vancouver these days, is that shark is in the water, it's coming after you, and you better make sure that you got your shark repellent on, or that you hit that raft pretty quick, because they're coming and they're not going to stop.
I will say, though, if anybody's watched the original Jaws, I look back at that now and I'm like, how did we think that ever even looked like a real shark with the digital animation we had back then? But I agree with you, and that goes back to my point about the belief. And by the way, this is against a good Dallas team that's surprising a lot of people. And Eric Quill is another coach, right, that talks about belief and culture and understanding and getting the guys on the same page and loving his locker room. So I think that when you have a Dallas team that's at home and still finds a way with Vancouver to come from behind and get that result, I think it's all about the belief. Like, you just feel like they never feel rattled. No matter what the score is, no matter what the opportunities are, no matter who's missing from that roster, they just find a way. And yes, it was Berhalter at that game with the brace, but it could have been anybody else. There's been plenty of guys that have stepped up, and Berhalter sometimes can be kind of quiet on a night and, kind of drifting in an area where he's not getting much done offensively, and then he just pops up out of nowhere. So I think I'm spot on with you. This is a Vancouver side that feels so good about what they're capable of and the belief of the entire group. And again, I know I keep hearkening back to the Ryan Gauld injury, and this is, obviously dating back to last year. I kept thinking, how are they going to get through this without a healthy Ryan Gauld? How is that going to be possible? And they kept doing it time and time again. So I think even this belief and this understanding that anybody can step up at any moment was all the way back to last season. And now it's just carried through, even with coaching changes and some personnel and some rotation in roster and some guys heading out. I think this is a Vancouver side that just never doubts themselves. They don't ever think they're out of it, even when they're on the road and they know it's a tough task.
And you got dudes who might not even be household names in their own household. You're looking at Emmanuel Sabi. You're looking at Jivan Bodwal. It's Sheikh Sabali that's attached to all of this knowledge that we're getting from your daughter when it comes to the Whitecaps on a daily basis. It's just dudes that you really got to do deep dives in to know that they're a part of that system. And it's like the Lincoln Logs or the jigsaw puzzle. They fit, and you're not having to fish for that piece of the Eiffel Tower in the corner to make the puzzle fit. You know that it's going to be there.
Well, and don't you think that's the way of the world these days? It's no longer just bring in this super expensive, high-priced player that, succeeded somewhere else. It's about fitting the pieces together. And I kind of feel like the league is now becoming what a lot of national teams have figured out. You can't always just take the best players in every position. They have to fit together and complement each other. And as long as they understand the system and the style and the philosophy that you're asking these teams to play or these players to play, then I think it just contributes in a positive way. And that's exactly what they've done in Vancouver. That's actually what they've done, I think, in a lot of places now. That is not the way we used to kind of think of Major League Soccer. It was like bringing the high-priced star that blows everybody out of the water, but maybe doesn't fit with what you're trying to do. And I think that's exactly what Vancouver does. They understand their role. They understand that they're important, whether you're coming off the bench, whether you're, number 20 on that game day roster, or whether you're a starter, that you could be called upon at any moment. And I think that's the uniqueness of Vancouver, and now the rest of the league and lots of other teams are starting to do the same exact thing.
All right, when are you flying down?
6:30 tonight. I've got, the two coaches calls, a celebration of life, a whole bunch of things I'm cramming into this beautiful day and heading down to Houston, and it should be a great matchup.
Well, as always, Kyndra, it's great to have the Kyndra cameo. Stop talking to us. Go keep rolling with your day, and we'll catch up with you soon. It's always great to hear from you and get your expertise and all the knowledge.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I thank you for being flexible as well. I know I'm kind of walking around outside here trying to figure it out.
It's all good. It's fantastic. Better to hear you than to see you, and it's all great. And just go do your stuff. We'll see you on the air.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Kyndra D. St.Aubin. She's heading tonight to Houston for Hell in a Shell in Vancouver. And that is tomorrow at 8:40. Once again, Vancouver favored at a -111. Houston, a big underdog at home at a +260. And Vancouver is the draw is a +280 with both of those on the board. Cangy man, Steve Cangialosi set to join us coming up bottom of the hour for a Cangy cameo. And we'll roll through Hudson River with him and find out what is on his mind as we go. And then once again, Terry Johnson, CEO of the Field of Dreams Academy, joining us in about a half hour to talk about their new relationship with FIFA and the interaction they're in, and to give us a bit of an education about everything that's going on at Field of Dreams Academy. So I can't wait for that one coming up in a half hour. So Cangy cameo coming up in about 15 minutes. And then Terry Johnson from Field of Dreams Academy coming up in 30. And then we'll wrap up the week. All right, so let's get you into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Anything else that's on our minds? Let's see here. Oliver Glasner has hinted at a huge rotation for Crystal Palace's final Premier League match against Arsenal. Manchester City made 6 changes Wednesday night ahead of the FA Cup final on tomorrow. And then they beat Palace 3-0 with a win to close the gap on Arsenal to 2. Palace faced Rayo Vallecano in the Conference League final 3 days after their last game against Arsenal. When asked if Pep Guardiola's lineup surprised him, Glasner smiled, said, "No, we never know what the opposition's planning. Pep has the same topic, a final in 3 days. It was maybe a legitimation to make a huge rotation against Arsenal. Nobody has to ask me again." Yeah, because his time is coming to a close. And he is out the door at the end of this season. Let's see. No fresh injury problems for Happy to Be Here FC. Evan Gesson and Borna Sosa have returned to training. Could be involved in the squad against Brentford on Sunday. He wants Crystal Palace to take the game to Manchester City Wednesday night. Knows they'll have to work things out defensively. So once again, the 12-day spell didn't happen for Crystal Palace, and then you were working that way. So no real shocks. Everybody's wondering how Arne Slot can stop the booze. I don't know. BOOS, not get your head out of the gutter, people. Stop it. So we'll find out what's going on there. But traditionally, it would be winning. So we'll see what happens there. Villa's got their own Champions League hopes. They got Liverpool on Friday Night Football, and that'll be 3 o'clock this afternoon, our time. And so both teams, once again, could have a big effect on what's going on in the race for Europe. Villa and Liverpool level on points, secure their Champions League spots if they go top 5. However, once again, they've won 1 of 6 combined, and they could be reduced to a single point by the end of the weekend. So Villa run in against 2 of the 4 teams ahead of them, Liverpool Friday, Manchester City on decision day. 3 points off the top. They could miss out on the top 5 altogether. They do have a second chance at qualifying, and if they win Europa against Freiburg on Wednesday, they can rest easy. Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, who, according to Opta and Sky, have the most realistic chance of finishing in the top 6, they all have a vested interest in Aston Villa. If and only if Villa returns with the Europa League trophy and to go finish 5th, then that means that qualifying spot drops down to 6. So right now, here's what you're looking at. Arsenal, Man City, Manchester United, Liverpool. Villa is 5th. Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, 6, 7, 8. And so you could have, and right now, Bournemouth, according to Opta, has a 59% chance to be in the top 6. Brighton, a 37% chance of being in the top 6. So that opens the door. If Villa win Europa League, obviously that means they get into Champions League because they won Europa. So that opens the door for whoever's number 6. So the race for 6th is on, people. Bournemouth, Brentford, any European football, once again, opens the door. None of them have ever played in Europe before, so this would be the opportunity to do that. So if Villa then win Europa and go above Liverpool into 4th, it would be just the top 5 teams in the Premier League for Champions League. So you've got to keep that in mind. Villa would have been in Champions League this season, except for losing to Manchester United. But then United goes on to win. So now, with what happens on Villa on Friday and in Istanbul in the midweek, there's a possibility Champions League hopefuls Brentford and Brighton may want to lose on the final day. Brentford's last fixture is at Anfield. If Brentford are 6th by then and Villa are Europa League champs, a Liverpool win may help ensure they finish 5th. And you thought the NBA liked to tank. Brighton are home to Manchester United. And if in 6th spot going into the final day, and if United have allowed Villa and Liverpool to close the gap on them, Brighton would also benefit from ensuring that United remain above Villa in the table. So keep an eye on the last day and any team that is named with a letter B. You could have tanking like the NBA has seen. You could have tanking like we have seen in the NBA. Today, by the way, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Salford City and Grimsby right now. Salford City in the League 2 promotion playoffs, leading Grimsby Town 2-1. That one is at 1:15 or 2:15. And then Notts County leading Chesterfield 1-0 in the aggregate. This one is at 3 o'clock, going head-to-head against Villa and Liverpool. Notts County with a 1-0 lead in the aggregate on Chesterfield in the League 2. promotion playoffs to figure out who gets to square off against each other and get promoted up to League One. All right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And the thing that gets me is that the PGA is playing today, and I'm just like, what? Could not have told you. Apparently, Kylian Mbappe to Alex Kirkland said on Thursday that Alvaro Arbeloa told him he was Real Madrid's fourth choice forward, a claim later denied after being benched, then whistled at in the 2-0 win over Real Oviedo. Introduced as a 69th minute sub in the La Liga match, nice, replacing Gonzalo Garcia, who had put Madrid ahead and was loudly whistled by the Bernabeu crowd. Match was their first home match since Barca were confirmed as champs. Florentino Perez had his hour-long rant, seeking the backing of club members in fresh presidential elections. Mbappe told reporters after the match, I'm 100% after missing the Clásico through injury, then starting on the bench against Oviedo. Quoting Mbappe, I didn't play because the coach told me I'm the fourth choice forward in the squad behind Mastuantuono, Vinicius, and Gonzalo. I accept it and play the time I'm given. I think I played well. Arbeloa was asked about the comments, and he said, I wish I had four forwards. I don't have four forwards. And I certainly didn't say anything like that to Mbappe. Perhaps he didn't understand me. I don't know what else to tell you. At no point could I tell him that he's the fourth choice forward. So there's he said going on at Real Madrid. The Saudi PIF has signed a deal to sponsor this particular World Cup. Let's see. We mentioned the halftime show, the expanded halftime show with Shakira and Burna Boy, and they're combining for a World Cup song to be a part of the whole thing. It's going to be Madonna and BTS and an expanded halftime show for the final. Oh, and keep an eye on Scotland, by the way. First Scottish title since 1960. If they better the result that they would have, or if they match or better the result that they have coming up against Celtic. So early in the morning, 7:30 tomorrow, the Scottish title gets decided, and Jarrett will be up at 5:30 before he takes a nap to watch that one. So everybody's unveiling their 26-27 home kits in the Premier League, getting ready for next year because they got to put things on the market, and we'll keep an eye on all of that. Now, Arsenal, the latest team to show interest in West Ham's Mateus Fernandes. The Times reports the Gunners would be keen to sign the 21-year-old if Christian Norgard leaves, although they're open to offers for the former Brentford man. Fernandes has impressed in his 40 appearances for West Ham this season. PSG, Atletico de Madrid, Manchester United linked with him despite West Ham wanting a fee of around £84 million. Manchester United, one of several teams monitoring Nico Williams' situation at Nottingham Forest, according to BBC Sport. Wales International still has 3 years remaining on his deal at City Ground, but his displays at left back and right back have caught people's eyes. United, Villa, Newcastle, Everton making inquiries. Forest looking to make a new contract offer to ward off interest, and you control the asset at that time. Arsenal face a battle with Liverpool, Newcastle, Manchester United to sign Porto midfielder Victor Froholt, according to the three-letter paper. Reported release clause worth €85 million, impressed in helping Porto to the title this year, 6+5 in 33 league matches. The Danish international, considered one of the top young players in Europe, has a contract through 2030. AC Milan keeper Mikey Maignan has emerged as a transfer target for Chelsea again, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. Blues are gathering information for a possible offer, having almost signed him last summer before Milan opted against letting him go. If Milan miss out on Champions League football, then the France international may push to leave, though Chelsea's own hopes of qualifying for Europe are also at risk. Percentages, according to Opta, are very low, behind Brentford and Brighton, and anybody with a B. Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton. Chelsea's behind them. PSG preparing an offer worth over €100 million to land Julian Alvarez this summer, according to Mundo Deportivo. 20+9 this campaign. Barcelona, Arsenal have emerged as the main candidates. Concerns over the finances involved. PSG might could give them the upper hand, willing to push their offer above that of their rivals. Ronald Araujo's future at Barca has been described as up in the air amid concerns over playing time. The 27-year-old center back has been a squad player for much of the season, included a break to focus on his mental health. That comes from AS. Team talk. Chelsea stepping up their interest in Bournemouth midfielder Alex Scott, who's also been on the radar of Manchester United. Ekrem Konur. Chelsea striker Mark Guiu could leave this summer. Newly promoted Coventry City are keeping an eye on him. Bayern Munich pushing to sign Hertha Berlin youngster Kenneth Eichhorn, who is 16. Manchester City continue to be linked with the D-mid. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Ekrem Konur again. Dortmund's Julian Brandt is an option for Atletico de Madrid to replace Griezmann this summer. Free agent when his contract expires at the end of the month. Everton, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace tracking Midtjylland winger Dario Osorio. We mentioned that from our buddy Ben Jacobs. Transfer valued at €20 million. Plettenberg again, promotion chasing Southampton, have an €8 million permanent option on their loan agreement with Bayern for keeper Daniel Peretz. Mundo Deportivo, Real Betis winner Abde Ezelzuli, monitored by his former club Barcelona, and Gazzetta dello Sport's Daniel Malin, officially a Roma player after his loan move from Villa was made permanent for €25 million after qualification for Europa League was sealed, and that is from our friends at Gazzetta dello Sport. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, brought to us by our friends at Fanati's, ftz.co/soccer down here. And that link is important because it helps them, it helps us, and it helps you get to all the places that you want when it comes to all the streaming services and channels that you may not have already. You get all the BNs, which means you get Middle East, North Africa, you get Turkish League, Polish League, French League, you get Copa Argentina, you get everything in CAF, meaning Africa qualifiers, you get AFCON, you get Champions League, which is going on right now. There's a $4 million match happening this weekend, and it's going to be on BN. You also get Liga 1 Max Pro, a lot of other A and B divisions in South America, links to CATV, links to Tigo Sports. You get TVV out of Venezuela if you want to add it. You get CDO out of Chile if you want it. TEC out of Argentina with their great coverage. They give you Copa Argentina as well. You get Libertadores, Sudamericana, all the things at Fanati's, ftz.co/soccer down here. Today, La Liga 2 at 2:20, Castellón and Cádiz, USL Cup, 2 matches available for you on the Plus at 7 and 7:30. Paramount Plus, Serie A, Cremonese, and Fiorentina. Keep an eye on the bottom of the table. Your League 2 playoffs are on Paramount Plus, 2:15 and 3. Women's side, Friday night to NWSL on Prime. Kansas City, Curtin, Houston, that's at 8. Victory Plus has 3 other matches at 10 in Bay, Seattle, and San Diego. They get you through Friday. Saturday, doubleheader on being in the Polish League. That $4 million match I was telling you about with Zamalek and USM Alger, that's at 2 o'clock on the BNs. CBS Sports Network, Richmond and Charleston, USL Cup at 6. Remember, bright and early, 7:30, Celtic and Hearts to decide the Scottish Premiership. FA Cup, 10 o'clock tomorrow, Chelsea, Manchester City on the Deuce. Fox Soccer Plus, the league we don't talk about, it's got a doubleheader. FS1 has Seattle and LAG tomorrow night. BN Espanol simulcasting everything that BN has. ESPN Deportes simulcasting FA Cup. Fox Deportes simulcasting Seattle and LAG and the league we don't talk about. Telemundo, Sábado Futbolero, Chivas and Cruz Azul is at 9. It's on Telemundo and Universo. All the matches on Apple starting at 4:30 kicks, 4:40 kicks to 10:40 kicks. The San Jose and Dallas match out west. ESPN Plus, A-League bright and early. FA Cup coverage starting at 9 a.m. Last day in the Bundesliga. And keep an eye on Union Berlin and Augsburg because it's, well, part of Picks of the Week, but it's Mary-Louise Eta's finale in her interim stint at Union Berlin taking on Augsburg. Bundesliga dry, 7:30 in the morning. It's their last day. They get to figure out their promotion and the promotion playoffs. La Liga 2, 12:20 doubleheader. USL Cup, 3, 6, 9, 12 matches there, and 1 match up in USL League 1, Sarasota and Alta. Fox ONE has MLS and the league we don't talk about. Paramount Plus has Celtic and Hearts. Peacock, Sábado Futbolero, Women, NWSL doubleheader on ION, ESPN Deportes, Copa de la Reina. Peacock, 4 matches available, Victory Plus, NWSL, Utah and Racing Louisville. Okay, wasting no time because the man's one of the busiest men in show business. And I say that because it's true. It's time for our Cangy cameo. Cangy, what up?
How you doing, my friend John? What's going on?
You're one of the busiest men in show business. Figured we'd knock on your door here and get you for about 12 or 13 minutes before you head on to your next stop. And you, sir, get a Hudson River home game this weekend. True?
Yes, out of the airport, finally. It's been a wonderful week because Wednesday night did the Red Bull game at Sports Illustrated Stadium against Columbus, and I'm staying local now. And just to show you how quickly things change, right?
Mm-hmm.
These were 2 teams in a very bad way about a week and a half ago. And 2 straight wins for each. And suddenly this New York derby is 5 versus 6 in the East. They're both feeling a lot better about themselves than they were 10 days ago.
I was going to ask you about the Jekyll and Hyde changing of uniforms and phone booths and everything, going from just kind of there to where they are right now. And so I will ask you, sir, question mark, or actually ellipses. What has it been that has flipped the switch for the Baby Bulls? Because you had the beginning of the season where it was gangbusters and Julian Hall is the next best thing beyond sliced bread. If you believed that sliced bread was fantastic, you haven't seen Julian Hall. He's better than that. And then you get that dip, and now they're back up and running. What is it about the Baby Bulls that you've seen?
Julian Hall got the headlines, but I think the direct answer to your question is what they're getting out of their wings now, because that's the big change in philosophy as Michael Bradley comes in. It's a much more possession-based team, right? But George Rubalcaba, who has a chance to represent Mexico at the World Cup, and Cade Cowell are now both flourishing at the same time. And in the case of Rubalcaba, I spoke with Michael Bradley about this a couple of days ago. And he said, look, we knew there would be a little bit of a transition time for him. He's moving to a new team. He's moving to a new league, doesn't know the opponents very well. He's moving to a different system. There was never much doubt that he would find a gear and the goals would start coming. And sure enough, he's scored 4 since match day 7. Cowell is bringing the element, I think, that the Red Bulls hoped he would. And his pace is one thing, but he delivers a fantastic ball from the right side as well. So if all of these Pistons are firing here, John, Julian Hall has a chance to score at least 20 this year. He's already at 9. And the service is coming from the 2 guys from the outside. Let's not forget, the captain and the highest paid player on the team is Emil Forsberg. He's supposed to be providing the primary service for Julian. But if it's coming from those 3 sweet spots, plus the kid Adri Mehmeti, this could be some robust number at the end of the season for Julian Hall.
There were some folks, and this was in the ebb and flow of the season that we've seen from Red Bulls, who were basically already over Michael Bradley as head coach. It's like, I'm serious. I was seeing this, and I'm like, what are you people talking about? What are you people doing here? And it's like, everything's great. And then all of a sudden they hit that schneid, and it's like, oh, Michael Bradley doesn't know what he's doing. The young kids, this was a bad idea and all this kind of stuff. There was so much noise about Michael Bradley being out of his element when you just start going this way, and now you're coming back this way. All of that has kind of shut up real quick.
Well, welcome to the world we live in 2026. And I think Michael's smart enough to know that the seat by nature is always supposed to be warm, if not scorching hot. We live in a world now, and an MLS world, where 9 teams started with a first-year head coach for the club. And since the start of the season, let's not forget, 3 have already been dismissed, including the man who won an MLS Cup last year. So that is the nature of the game. I think there was always an expectation that Michael would have a lot of latitude to grow into this job. The one part of this that I think is a fair criticism is that Michael became the MLS Next Pro coach. He won a championship, but there is some feeling among people who follow the team closely that he kind of jumped over Ibrahim Sagaya, who is also part of the staff. Ibrahim's a wonderful coach. He's an assistant to Michael now. Some people thought that was uneven, but to his credit, Michael has set out on this path to be a coach for the longest time. And I've said this before, John, maybe not on your show. When he was introduced as this team's head coach, this was his introductory press conference, first week of January, I think it was. He gave the answer that I think everybody in New York wanted to hear, that when the offer came, he said, how do you say no? Because he grew up with this team under his father when he was 16 years old. And that's, I think, all people want to hear. He won the press conference with those words. How do you say no? He could have said anything else for the next 90 minutes, and he won the press conference. So he's learning on the job. I think that's a fair element. He's a young guy, but I think he's a career coach in the world game. Yes, I do.
To the flip side, and the double blue, it was a 1-0 win on the road in Charlotte. And with NYC, just there are times where some of the talent there, you're just marveling, and and it's kind of counterintuitive when you're doing play-by-play or analysis, when your jaw is agape and you're supposed to say something about what you're seeing out there, and words just kind of fail you. What's it been like for you to see NYC this season up to this particular point?
Uneven, I think, is the best word that I would come up with to describe it. Now, Matt Freese is gearing up for a World Cup, and whether or not he's going to be the number one keeper, we'll get our answer to that maybe 2 days into this World Cup. I don't know that Pochettino has decided. I was in the company of Tim Howard last week, and he said it's really not a decision. Freese is the number one. I'm not so sure I would go that far. But the consecutive shutouts that they have earned in the 2 games that we've referenced against Columbus on Sunday and in midweek against Charlotte. So now, coming into this New York derby, Freese has a shutout streak of, I believe, 195 minutes, if I've got the number exactly. And they haven't given up a goal in the run of play in more than 200 minutes. So they're in a better way defensively right now. I always try to look at things big picture. They're not the finished product. Very few teams in MLS are, as we have this conversation in May. But I also believe that you're looking at a 17-goal scorer from last season at some point returning to this group in Alonso Martinez. I feel bad for him. He's one of the best, if not the best, transition player in MLS, aside from Denny Bouanga. And this injury cost him a World Cup, okay? And that's bad stuff. But I think that we're looking at this team getting him back sometime around late August. And if they get somebody who is close to the kind of player that he was, then it's up to Pascal Janssen to make this attack hum, reintroducing Alonso Martinez and still having Nico Fernandez-Marcao, who's been an excellent signing for this team, do the things that change games. This is a good team. It can be a conference finalist, I think, once again, if they get everybody healthy. But right now, it's just been a little bit uneven to this point. And there's pressure to perform as they move into the new stadium next year.
You ain't kidding. You look at 428-year-old Maxi Morales, and he just continues to produce. I literally, I don't know what it is, but Maxi has found a youth or new skin, or, the Cindy Crawford stuff that she peddles. Maxi just seems to find his place. He knows what his job is now at this point of his career, and it continues to be choice B, cause as much havoc as humanly possible. To see Maxi continue to contribute at this point of his career, obviously it's a bonus, but it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and he never comes. He starts every game, at that age, and that's a testament to his professionalism. It's a testament to how he treats his body and how he conserves energy during games, which I think is extremely important. His former coach, Nick Cushing, said this is like having a second coach on the field every game. He directs the rest of the group in a very wise fashion. He is still the engine of their midfield after all of these years, and now with another stint with this team. And every week, he's kind of borderline team of the match day, it seems. He brings a great professional element to this group. The interesting thing is, I've asked this question from time to time whenever I cover New York City. I don't know that there's a plan for him to hang it up. He's going to approach 40 years old. I don't think there's some timeline, at least not one that's been made public, for him to call it a career. And honestly, I don't see any reason for that at this time, because he's still such a marvelous player to watch.
So in the Open that you and Higgy Baby will have in the Saturday, there's always the players to watch, and that's the marquee dudes. In this matchup, taking into account possible rotation or what have you from matches in the midweek, who would be your B-level guy, the guy that would not be in that montage, one VO wiping to the next, of who to look at for the successes of both of these teams in this derby coming up on the weekend? As Cangy froze. Rats. I got Cangy for another couple of minutes here, so we'll see what happens. Let me duck out here with Steve, and we will come back, hopefully. And so literally I had like 2 questions. And, of course, everything just kind of gives out on us. And so we'll see what happens here. Cangy's going to log back in, and we'll do the 2 more questions, and then he can go off to his 10:45 and continue his run on the afternoon. And one of the busiest men in show business, and it's always really cool to catch up with Cangy here. So we had a Kyndra cameo. I can't get this out of my mouth. And then a Cangy cameo here to break down Hudson River. So we'll see what it is and see if Steve Cangialosi can hop back in and give us the wires and all of the connection that we're looking for with Cangy coming up here. So literally it's like 2 more questions because he's got to go because he's got his next thing, and we'll catch up with him and see if he can reconnect. Otherwise, we will let Cangy go on his rather large roster of demands that he has on a day like this. But yeah, it is Danny Higginbotham and Steve Cangialosi who are on the Saturday Walmart Showcase, and it is Hudson River with those two. And it's going to be a really fun matchup with Saturday Showdown with Red Bull, and you've got Mehmeti, and you've got NYCFC, and it is going to be a big matchup once again in Harrison, New Jersey at SI Stadium. And so we will find out everything else that's there. Sleeping Jot, blah, 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 blah. Not happening. So you are going to be blocked, and then we are going to find out what else is going on. Okay, really quickly, because I got 2 more questions, and I know Cangy's got to go. You're back with me. I see you. You look great.
Sorry, my friend.
Oh, no worries. Really quickly. So out of that opening VO with players to watch, you wipe from one to the other. Give me like your next choices of those dudes that you would put in there, but you can't. So your B-level guys who would be like choices B on both sides for that players to watch VO.
Let me start with this. Forget squad rotation. They both value this rivalry, and I think they're going to start their best players, okay, as long as they're able to go. Right. So my secondary player for New York City would be Agustin Ojeda, okay, who gives a lot of pace on the right side, and he can be a handful for whoever the choice of Red Bull left back will be in that game, because the Red Bulls have 2 young ones. They have Matthew Dos Santos, the homegrown, and Omar Valencia, the Panamanian. Ojeda typically plays well in these games, so he would be my choice for the team in blue. As for Red Bull, I always like to go with somebody local whenever they play a New York derby, okay? Because traditionally, those are the guys who have brought the fight. Some of the best players in this rivalry for this Red Bull team through the years have been players like Matt Miazga, Daniel Edelman, Peter Stroud. They always brought the fight to this game. I'm going to go with Dylan Mielis as my pick for this. He's been so valuable for this team. He's a jack of all trades. He'll give you something at fullback. He'll give you something at center back if need be. And he's someone who I think will have his A game before the big crowd on Saturday night. So I kind of went off the main road there, but those are the 2 that come to mind for me.
Literally, that's why I asked that question. I want to see where the Waymo and the Uber takes the brain in a situation like this.
There you go.
Walmart Saturday Showdown match day 14. It's a Higgy baby along with our friend Steve Cangialosi. Hey, Magnum PI references for guys like me. I'll take it when I can get it. Have a great call, my friend. Don't be a stranger. We will see you soon, and continue on with your incredibly busy day. Thanks for shoehorning us in.
Hey, John. Anytime, man. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, there goes Steve Cangialosi. So it's Steve Cangialosi, Danny Higginbotham in New Jersey for Hudson River. So that was cool. So the Cangy cameo, the Kyndra cameo, and that gets us cleared up for our next guest coming up here in a second, where we get to catch up on things Field of Dreams Academy-wise, and a very, very cool thing that we get to talk about when it comes to FIFA and grants and seeing what's going on with the sides of the game that we don't necessarily get to go and hang out with every day and find out what's going on. Middlesbrough notes a decision of the disciplinary committee not to permit the club to intervene. Club regrets the outcome given we're directly affected. Conduct at issue. So they're just mad. So we're hopeful that the EFL's regulator pursues such a sanction before the disco in order to protect the integrity of the game, safeguard all member clubs, and deter any attempt in the future to obtain unfair and unlawful advantage, pursuit of promotion in the Premier League. Club reserves all its legal rights. So basically, Middlesbrough came out with a statement saying they're mad. They're mad that they can't be at the hearing. That was basically what's going on. All right, so it is 10:45, and it is this one was really cool. When this came across our bow, we were like, "Yeah, let's go ahead and I want to find out about this." So we go and catch up with the CEO of the Field of Dreams Academy, Terry Johnson. Find out what is going on at FOD. Terry, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for crashing the show here on a very, very busy day for you and a very, very busy Friday in general.
Well, good morning, John. First of all, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to join you guys. And let's get into it.
All right. Well, and what I wanted to do was turn this into, yes, I wanted to talk about the news, about the cool stuff that is happening with FIFA, but what I also wanted to do is educate our audience about the Field of Dreams Academy. And not a lot of folks know about it. And I didn't know that there was another vowel added into the program, because I'm used to seeing STEM schools, but you're a STEAM school. And I was like, okay, I'm not used to seeing that A in there. For those that may not know about the Field of Dreams Academy, break it down as to where it is in the community and what you're trying to accomplish with Field of Dreams Academy.
Thank you so much. So the Field of Dreams Academy, we are an out-of-school enrichment program. So we're connected with Atlanta Public School System, DeKalb County Schools, Clayton County, and Fulton County, where we provide after-school and out-of-school enrichment programs that deal in academics, athletics, and leadership development. So for us, our feeder is we deal in STEAM. You're absolutely correct, around the traditional science, technology, engineering, robotic programs, from FIRST Robotics to auto racing with Soapbox Derby, to mechanical bots, to gaming and coding, to traditional science, research science, physical science, from physics to chemistry. We provide those enrichment programs to those schools and help elevate to the next level. So for their advanced programming, your AP class or your academy programs that are within those districts, we're the supplement provider for them. And we've been doing that for 21 years. On top of that, we offer athletic programming. So for us, our athletic programming focuses on teaching the fundamentals of the game, but elevating and putting those student athletes in a position to go to the next level. Our core sports are soccer, baseball, softball, volleyball, lacrosse. I mentioned to you auto racing, and people go auto racing. So again, the Soapbox Derby building, that's a STEM piece too. Go-karting are our core items. So imagine now a parent saying, I want my son and daughter to understand the game of lacrosse. We do that, but we go, it is a STEM-based sports. Let's talk about the science behind what it takes to participate and to be an elite lacrosse athlete. The same for science and baseball. So for us, what we do is in the Metro Atlanta area, we're based out of the west side of Atlanta, and near our great partner, Georgia Tech, and also Morehouse College. We have access to their campus. So we do also a part of our leadership where we tell our students, imagine yourself going to college. You're on this college campus. Imagine going to be on Georgia Tech's campus and you're in the classroom and you're learning STEM education, but now you also have access to the athletic field where we do our soccer program. The same thing at Morehouse College and Clark Atlanta, our other partners. So for us, it really is about the exposure of elevating those young athletes and students that we work with, understanding the importance of education and athletics, and marrying it to them becoming leaders in their community. We've been doing that for about 21 years now.
From the first day that you walked in the door, can you think off the top of your head, or just a round number, of how many young people have come in that you've influenced and helped them with their way and guided them to whatever their path is coming out of the Field of Dreams? Do you have any kind of numbers or ideas how many folks you've touched?
Yeah, so when we were celebrating our 20-year anniversary last year, we pulled all the research data and looked at it. We've touched over 10,000 youth in our programming in that time frame. And the story behind it, I'll share quickly, is this was born out of me being a father of four. So I'm also the founder of the organization. So I was married, 4 boys, heavily into athletics. And I was telling my wife at the time, you know what? I want to do something bigger than just be a coach, because I realized I have a privilege in being in these young men and young women's lives. And I don't want to just be one who wrote a check supporting organizations. I want a big impact. So we started the Field of Dreams Academy. So it was really about taking sports and then education because of our background. And that's how we kind of build the organization over the years. So for us, we're really excited. And, I've got the stories, and we can get into it, of the number of professional athletes that have come through our program they're making their impact today, but also the number of young men and women who are principals, who are, entrepreneurs, who are lawyers and doctors who come through our program because of what we offer. So we're really excited about not only what the Global Citizens and FIBA organizations said, hey, you're doing great impact in the community. We want to support you, but it's going to allow us to even elevate our programs even more.
All right, let me get into the FIFA element of this. The FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund, and you're a part of the inaugural class, however you wish to phrase it. You're school is open, and you're part of that first graduating class that's there. How did all of this come to be? Who was like? Who was scanning and sat there and was like, oh, let's go there? How did this come to pass?
Great question. So for us, our program director, Miss Eli, and she's out of the office today, I would have had to join us, but she was doing the research on grant opportunities, and based on what we were doing in the community, it came across through our national grant database that we have, that they were looking to do this grant program, but there was a very specific profile that they were looking for as far as nonprofits that they wanted to engage. And when she did the checklist, she says, hey, we qualify. We meet this, and we really should go after this. So we came together collectively, my program director, my academic counselors, some of my parents who've been with us, and says, okay, how can we really make sure we tell our story, we provide the right documentations, and then make sure that they see what we're doing, and we can take advantage of this enormous opportunity that's before us. So that's how we did it. So strategically, it was a team. We went through it. We kept going back and forth, and we kept saying, you know what? As we kept pulling the data out that we pulled from that they were asking for our programming, it was like, this makes sense. This is a huge opportunity for us. So we got even more excited as we got through the process.
Montemecco Eli, the program director, is who Terry is referencing in all of this. So what does it, I guess, what were the parameters going in? What were the guidelines? It's like, okay, FIFA said, okay, if you apply for this grant, that means that you have to apply it to A, B, C, D, E. Or did they just sit there and say, okay, here, you're a part of the grant program. We've got a loose structure. As long as you fit inside that loose structure with the grant, then everything's cool. What did they allow you to chase in the application process, and how does that help you now that you're on the other side?
So what they really were looking at, two things that really stood out.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, tell us what you're doing with the power of sport, and then also how are you using sport to elevate education among the youth. Show us what milestones and achievements that you've accomplished, but more important, what do you see moving forward within the next 3 to 5 years, and how we can have that impact. So for us, we're built around the power of sport. I mentioned to you that for us, we deal in academic, athletic, and leadership enrichment, but they all are intertwined. So for us, it was like the power of sport. We've always used sport as our conduit. Every parent thinks their child is that next superstar. So we go, okay, that's great, and we have programming based on our relationships with the U.S. Soccer Foundation, U.S. Lacrosse, those organizations that support what we're doing. So we understand the importance of the power of sports, Lourdes USA, and that we get that. But then on the education side, it was like understanding where education is not only in your community, but from a global perspective. And we look at STEAM and the way that we present our STEAM programming from a global perspective. We all talked about the power of AI and how it's manipulating today. Understanding technology from a coding standpoint, robotics are in manufacturing. So for us, what we were doing aligned specifically what they were looking for. So it was like, hey, how you use the power of sport and how are you elevating education, and can it have an impact more than just in your community, but from a regional and a global perspective? And we answered that with an astounding yes, and that's how we presented ourselves to the organization.
And for those that may not know the acronym, when it comes to, you'll see STEM programs, and with Field of Dreams, it's a STEAM program. It's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And so that the A was something that I haven't seen with academies and such. I'm used to STEM schools and STEM programs. I had never seen a STEAM program and a STEAM school. Just how did the A turn STEM into STEAM? How did that come to pass?
So great question. So what we found was while parents were gravitating to the STEAM that we were doing, the STEM that we were doing, it was not every kid wanted to be in the sport. They wanted to be parts of it. But then we start finding a number of students who were artists. And when I use the word artist, not only from a visual or media piece where we were dealing in photography and videography, but also the medias of paint and all that, but also public speaking and music. So for us, it was like, if we're going to have a greater impact, we've got to add the arts, because every kid does not want the athletics, and every kid may not be successful in the science and the math. But if we can show them that they are components that are incorporated from the art perspective, then we still have that aha moment. And that's about how we incorporate it, and that's how we engage our students.
Yeah, you mentioned the next superstar, and superstar can mean a bunch of different things. It can mean that professional athlete that has looped back, that has, remembered their time with you at Field of Dreams, and now they loop back and they continue to be a part of your orbit there. You can be a superstar in business. You can be a superstar in art. You can be a superstar technology, engineering, all of these different things. And so that term superstar, while we associate it with sports, it goes across all of those strata with what you're doing there at Field of Dreams. What's it like when you have someone go through the program and then they turn into a young adult, a young professional, and are successful, however you want to use that word, and then they come back and visit? What's it like to have them come back and rub off on successive classes there at Field of Dreams?
I turn into a big teddy bear. And I say that, and I get full as we're sharing now, John. I'll give you two quick stories and you can understand why. So currently on my board, there's a young man. His name is Bobby Kennedy. Bobby is a financial analyst with Invesco. He started in our baseball program at the age of 11. Bobby talked to me about wanting to play baseball at the next level, and his aspirations was playing collegiate and maybe pro. And he played with my oldest son. So they played baseball through our program. Bobby's was successful. He went on to play in high school, had a great high school career. He transferred over to Morehouse College, the school I also graduated from. And I had a little influence there. So you'll see where I'm building on it. And upon his graduation, he would always come back and help with the baseball program as a coach for some of our clinics. But upon graduation, day one, he says, Coach Terry, no matter how old I get or they get, or I'm still Coach Terry, I want to be a part of Field of Dreams. You had such a great influence on me. And I was like, okay, great. So he came in and he says, I'm not working right now, just graduated. He became an intern. So he interned for us, and it happened right before COVID hit. So perfect timing. He worked for us about 2 years, and he was very instrumental in us understanding that bridge you talk about of going through the program and coming back. Did a great job of reconnected even more, what we call that younger generation. So impressed that our board, when he did get a job, we sent him off. We were very happy based on one of our parents who worked at Invesco, made that connection. Our board was so impressed with the work that he done. He was our first young board of directors. So he's been on the board now for 2 years. And his story was, this organization helped me become a better person. Not only just an athlete, but a better person. So I get full about that story of, now I've got this young man who's going through it. Now he sits on our board. So he believes in the mission and vision because he lived it. I've got another young man. His name is Daniel Price. Daniel is a teacher, elementary school teacher, teaches science and math. He's about 6'3", very towering, but he's a big old teddy bear also. So he started their baseball program 2 years ago, and he was having a hard time. He called me one day, same thing. He says, Coach, I need you. I said, what's going on? I said, what's going on with the science program? We just built a lab. He said, no. I need you on my athletic side. Yeah, you helped me with my science programs. We're great. I'm doing baseball, and I can't do it with these young kids. I was like, I'm there. So I was his assistant coach. So, and so I'm sitting there, and everything, the commands of teaching, the leadership piece, he's replicating it word by word. It's almost like a mirror. And I'm doing one of the games, and one of the kids, the little fourth grader, because they're third, this is what we call the rookie league. They're like, Coach Terry, why are you crying? I'm going, because that's me right there talking to you guys. So, you know, having a kid that says, I want you to be a part of something, you know, on the educational side. So I've got this person in corporate America who's doing well, that's in our leadership. Another one that's in education, that's having an influence of the next generation, specifically in science when we talk about that. And then also using athletics. Those are the stories that I have, you know, for outside of professional athletes. I'll share with you the names of Lawrence Butler, who's with the Oakland A's, Chandler Simpson, who plays with the Tampa Rays, Mark Churches with the Texas Rangers. All those young men who are Major League Baseball players played in our organization. So the impact, yeah, we talk about it and people like that story, but I really love the piece of those young men and women who are making a difference in the community.
And thank you for saying Oakland, the Oakland A's, because
I know he goes, Coach, we're Las Vegas. I said, I grew up as Oakland, and until you move into the new facility, you're still not.
I am down with that. I'm right there with you. Terry Johnson, Executive Director, Founder, CEO of something really, really cool that came across our bow that we couldn't resist talking to him about, the Field of Dreams Academy. So now that you are part of this first graduating class of the FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund, I know that you have things that you want to accomplish over the next 3 to 5 years. How will this connection with FIFA help in that? I know, obviously, yes, you have the normal grant process that is this churning beast that is 24/7, 365 on a year-to-year basis. But now with FIFA attached, how will the Global Citizen Education Fund help you out going forward?
That's a great question. And my response is, I think it gives us credibility. You would think 20 years of providing programming service would do it. But just think about the name of FIFA and their impact globally, what the Global Citizens organization does. Those two together and what they've created, it allows us to open up doors that might have been closed to us. You know, and to like today, this conversation with you is where we find an honor because we can tell our story even more, and it gets us on another platform where people go, huh, that's interesting. Wow, I would love for my son or daughter to be a part of it, or grantor saying, you know what, I see their vision, I understand it. We want to support them. So for us, it opens up doors that were not available to us before, or might have been closed. It says, wait a minute, you might not have thought of the value, but they have. They support us. Now we can have a greater impact in our, you know, what we're doing in our community. We can also share that where it's a ripple effect. You know, I'm an old guy. I always remember the days of hanging out with my friends in the summers and we're throwing rocks in the pond, you know, who can make the biggest ripple effect. Mm-hmm. So for us, this is a ripple effect that they're dropping to us and says, we believe in them. Now look what we're able to do long term. So that's what we look for, and why we're so excited about what they believe in us and giving us this opportunity to be a part of this phenomenal program.
And at the same time, making sure that when you take that rock and you go across the pond with it, that you've got the angle right, so you're not just making that one ripple. You're hitting all the different zones as you figure out how far that stone can go when it comes to throwing it across the pond. All right, if you would please let everybody know how they can find out more information about the Academy, about what you're doing, all of the things. Let everybody know. How do they do it?
Thank you. So our website is fieldoftreamsacademy.org. Our office number is area code 404-583-4041 directly. My name is Terry Johnson. My email address is terry.johnson@fieldoftdreams.org. Our social media is Field of Dreams ACA, so Field of Dreams, and then ACA, an abbreviation for Academy. We're on IG, also on X and Facebook. We put out our programming, what we do monthly and quarterly. John, 90% of our program is free of charge. Also, I want to mention that. So when you talk about the investment, what we ask our families and our kids, your investment of time and commitment. So what this grant would also allow us to do is to provide that access to those families even more. So a lot of times they think, well, I don't have the financial resources. This allows us to provide our programming free of charge. So when we talk about that, again, that rock across the pond, you can understand what I'm saying, with the ripple effect is even greater. So we're truly grateful for their support and their belief in what we're doing.
Educate, expose, and endow opportunities to youth from underrepresented communities here based in the Atlanta area. Terry, I can't thank you enough for wrapping up our full week of everything here on the morning show and letting everybody know about this. Congratulations on the contact with FIFA and being a part of their first graduating class when it comes to the Global Citizen Education Fund. Congratulations, my friend, and we will catch up with you soon. Don't be a stranger. Keep us posted on everything you're doing over there.
I will do. And again, it's been a pleasure meeting you and having this conversation today. And thank you. And thank you to your audience for listening. You have a great day. Okay.
Be good, sir. There's Terry Johnson. And that was good. That was really cool. When that came across our bow, we were like, yeah, we need to talk about this. And so that was a way to catch up with Terry and find out what's going on there to wrap up the guests that we have here on SDH AM for yet another week. Okay, before we get out of here, let's take a peek at all the things that are going on and let you know what else might be going on. So we know about Anthony Gordon. We've got Michael Carrick in the 2-year deal. Once again, Villa and Liverpool are today at 3 o'clock. So it is Friday night football, 3 o'clock, Aston Villa and Liverpool to start off your weekend here next to last match day. And it is going to be very, very interesting when it looks what looks like there. Trying to see. Chelsea's considering an FA Cup final back 3. So we'll keep an eye out on that for the FA Cup final. And the Southampton spy, put that in quotation marks, they have attached a name and a title to the Southampton employee. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. Obviously, they have between now and the 19th to figure out what they're going to do there and determine the EFL to determine what their next steps are going to be. So we mentioned Seamus Coleman. We mentioned Anthony Gordon, and we mentioned Hearts and Celtic. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else that is there. Darren Fletcher apparently has slammed the City Youth Cup parade. Daniel Farka wants Leeds to match his own ambitions, just checking the headlines as we go here. Matthijs de Ligt has revealed his ongoing back problem has required surgery, last featured in November, yet to play for Michael Carrick. And it is 6 months of treatment, working hard to get back surgery, the only option left. Disappointed I couldn't help the team the last 6 months, and obviously missing out on the World Cup. Looking forward to doing everything to get back in front of the fans and feeling better again. Like I said, Middlesbrough wants Southampton, by the way, to be thrown out. The only appropriate response is a sporting sanction, which would prevent Southampton from participating in the EFL Championship playoff final. And they're still mad that they're not going to be available to speak their piece at the meeting that's supposed to happen between now and the 19th. So we'll keep an eye on that in the EFL as we are going forward. Like I said, let's see. Guardiola wants a stand at Wembley. On the eve of the Manchester City leading Manchester City for a 24th time in the FA Cup final. And he says, I'm so disappointed that they don't make a stand for Pep. The number of times I've been there, maybe at least a lounge or a box. Maybe I go 24 more times. It's been a special place. Barcelona 92, after Manchester United, Barcelona winning Champions League in 2011. Second time many times. It's really good to go to Wembley again, top. So Manchester City has had their press conference. Let's see. A Hull supporter, and this is from The Guardian, a Hull supporter who spent around £2,000 to attend the championship playoff final from his home in Australia says the EFL, quote, has no regard for fans, end quote, after allowing the Spygate drama to plunge the game into uncertainty. Jack Gorbert is a former Tigers season ticket holder who's relocated to Melbourne, and the 27-year-old rushed to secure a flight home to see his side at Wembley following their win over Millwall. A price tag of almost £1,300 in the return journey, an additional $700 in other hotel and travel costs. Ongoing uncertainty has left Gorbert with a major expense, no guarantees the fixture will even go ahead as planned on May 23rd. So Michael Carrick has had his Friday opportunity, and once again reinforced by multiple sources, close to being appointed for a 2-year, if not a 2+1, to be the new manager full-time at Manchester United. Belgium has named their World Cup squad. Lukaku and De Bruyne have been named, and Thibaut Courtois, all three look to play their 4th World Cup campaign. Lukaku has not played for Belgium in almost a year. Injuries have limited him to 5 Serie A appearances for Napoli this year, just as a sub. selected for Belgium's most recent friendlies in March and April, withdrew over more fitness concerns. Rudy Garcia hasn't selected. Midfielder Nathan Decat, who would have been one of the youngest players at the World Cup, made his Belgium debut in the 5-2 win here in March. Luis Openda also misses out after spending much of the last few months on Juve's bench. Starting Group G against Egypt, June the 15th. Iran 6 days later. New Zealand on the 27th. Courtois, Lamens, and Penders in net. Castagna, Debast, Maxim de Kuiper, Coney de Winter, Michel, Meunier, Ngoy, Seys, and Teat as defenders. De Bruyne, Onana, Raskin, Tielemans, Van Aken, and Witsel in the midfield. De Ketelaere, Doku, Fernandez, Pardo, Lukaku, Luka Bacchio, who is dangerous, Moreira, Salamakers, and Leandro Trossard in the Belgium World Cup squad. So, like I said, I'm scanning. I'm trying to see if there's Jordanian FA have revealed defender Issam Smiri is going to miss the tournament because of a ruptured Achilles, according to Reuters. Suffered the injury during individual training, the association said in a post on the 280-character app. Now going to miss the tournament scheduled for starting June 11. Right back joins Yazan Al-Naimat and Adham Al-Qureshi on the list of absentees, both ruled out after failing to recover in time from ACL injury sustained in the Arab Cup last December. Bayern Munich sporting director Max Eberl has warned that Alphonso Davies, struggling to be fit for the World Cup, pledged they'll do everything they can to give him a chance to play for Canada on home soil, according to AFP. And Canada gets all three of their group games at home, Bosnia-Herzegovina and Toronto on June the 12th. China's CCTV is going to show the 26 and 30 World Cups. Agreed on the state broadcaster to show this one and the one in Spain. Portugal, Morocco, Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay. They're also going to show the next two Women's World Cups in 27 and 31. The agreement between FIFA and CCTV's parent company, China Media Group, covers TV, internet, and mobile. So there was a big gap in the audiences available to watch this. China has been secured. Now we're waiting to see if India is going to have an over-the-air provider for World Cup highlights, games, etc. So we'll keep an eye out on all of that. Erling Haaland is going to play a Viking called Holland in an animated movie. An animated version of himself in Vikings, directed and co-written by Harold Zvalt, the Dutch-Norwegian director of The Karate Kid and Agent Cody Banks. So keep an eye out for that. In a film debut, in an animated film, as the voice of a Viking called Holland. So makes plenty of sense. All right, that is it for another week of us here at SDH AM. It's been a fantastic sprint, as it always is here on SDH. And remember, it is Atlanta and Orlando tomorrow night, 7:40 start. Maddie and I will have Five Stripes Countdown, 6:30, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. We'll have full-time report after. So it'll be Maddie and me in studio on the weekend. Game with Mike and Jason in Orlando, and it is going to be 7:40, and then they're going to stay. They're going to be there for Open Cup on Tuesday as well, so that's the rundown for that. Full weekend across the board as regular seasons in Europe are winding down. Match day 14 in Major League Soccer. That's going to be happening all across the board. Great to catch up with Cangy and Kyndra as a part of this. Let me see if I've got all my guests for this week. Obviously, Terry Johnson, the Executive Director and CEO of Field of Dreams Academy. It was Mike Gramajo from WESH-TV in Orlando. Nino and Nico yesterday to be a part of the discussion going around the world in 60 minutes in the Power Hour. Curtis Ingsberg, the head coach at Marist. They are playing Marist and BT today at Duluth. And it will be Nick and Justin Hanover on the call. The first match, 5 o'clock at Duluth this afternoon, before the Dalton and Midtown match at 7:30 scheduled for Duluth. Also, it was Jason Park from Armurchie, Lauren Jones, the girls head coach at Model, Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com, Jose Rodriguez, the head coach at Meadow Creek, who won in a penalty kick shootout last night. It was Shannon Coley, the head coach at Coahulla Creek. It was let's see, who else? Coach Hellier from Whitfield Academy was a part of this. And Kadani McAlpine from UGA joined us on Tuesday morning with soccer in Sanford, Between the Hedges in August. We'll keep you posted on all that. Judson Hamby, the head coach of Oconee County. Abe and Bart on Monday. All the things. And always be prepared for the best of SDH AM. That's going to be out at 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app on Saturday morning. So that is another round of all of that this week. Thanks to all of you folks for being a part of things. Coming back at noon in about 45 minutes, it's going to be the last full-blown Red Clay Soccer Report presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. I can reach it if I cross over. And we'll go over the highlights from yesterday, and we'll get you ready for today. And we'll go through all the brackets as we know them, all the champions so far, and we'll set you up for the last day. You got those 2 matches at 5 and 7:30 at Duluth. Luke Winstall and myself are going to be in Thomaston. 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, girls, Irwin County and Tryon. 6:30, it is going to be GMC Prep in Atkinson County on the boys' side. Can't wait for those for the GHSA. NFHSnetwork.com for all of those matches. So thanks to David and thanks to everybody that hopefully tried to post in the chat that I can't see. And if you're there, thanks for being a part of everything all week long. I don't know what happened to the chat. Apparently, it has decided not to chat. And so I will take my word that everyone was in there and that you guys had great conversations, as you always do. So since it is the end of the week, it means only one thing, and we end the week as we always do. For all of you, for being a part of the SDH family that you always are, it is time to wrap up another week of SDH AM, back in 45 for the last Red Clay of the season. So that means we get to go here. We'll see you top of the hour, I think.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed